It's Weird Medicine, the first and still only uncensored medical show in the history of broadcast radio and the longest-running show on this channel. I'm Dr. Steve with my little pal, Dr. Scott, the traditional Chinese medicine provider who gives me street cred. The whack alternative medicine assholes. Hello, Dr. Scott.
Hey, Dr. Steve.
And my partner in all things, Tacey. Hello, Tacey.
Hello.
And back from real sabbatical, the chairperson of Super Android 23, also known as Fopi in certain circles. It's Loganfield. Is that your radio name?
That's my radio name for today, yeah. Yeah. Hey, Dr. Steve.
Hey, glad you're here, man.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Well, this is a show for people who never listened to a medical show on the radio. If you got a question you're embarrassed to take to your regular medical provider, if you can't find an answer anywhere else, give us a call, 347-766-4323. That's 347-POOHEAD. Visit our website at drsteve.com for podcasts, medical news, and stuff you can buy. I can't mention contractually. Most importantly, we are not your medical providers. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Don't act on anything you hear on this show without talking over with your healthcare provider. All right, very good. Uh-oh. Whoa, what am I hearing there? It's Loganfield, everyone, with Super Android 23.
I'm 1/16th of Super Android 23. I think there's like 16 of us right now in
Yes,
there.
that's true.
So this is the TR-8S Rhythm Performer by Roland. I got it for Christmas, and it is.
Oh, you did?
It is fantastic. It's a lot of fun. It's really intuitive, and it's really easy for people who don't know a lot about music.
Well, that's one great thing
programming
about having a groove box is you really don't have to know a whole lot about music to make something that, people can at least dance to. So, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, right now I'm this is one of the 1,000 things that this thing can do. All I'm doing right now is I'm just bringing audio in and out. It's got a bunch of
Now, are you doing this at random or is this purposeful?
I'm just kind of going with the groove right now.
Okay. Right on, brother.
Are you feeling it?
So that's and you can get this at Sweetwater. Now they're not an advertiser.
I think that's where my gal got this from. It was refurbished.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'll show
I have
you
all this shit
later.
over here. I've got the circuit tracks, and I have the hardest time making music out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had this thing for, how long have I had it for? 6 months to a year. I've made one pattern on here because it's, let me see if I can find it. Oh, well.
Is that the grid thing over there?
Yeah. Let me see if this is one of mine. Hang on. No, that's not me. Oh, this is me.
Is that Devo?
Sounds like the 80s.
Yeah.
Welcome to Nerd Radio.
I think it's Devo.
It sounds like it does sound like the 80s.
Oh my God.
It's like I'm watching Tron.
Where's Donna Summers when we need her?
Anyway, all right. Y'all can.
How stupid!
All right. This is a medical show, believe it or not, but it's good having you here, John.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Glad
so
to be
we
here.
need to explain. John looks, in certain light, he looks so much like Greg Opie Hughes that he has been mistaken for him before.
I have.
And you guys have differentiated a little bit now compared to when both of you were younger. You look a little different. But we tried to get John to go to the original ATP thing, and he didn't want to be called Fopi.
Well,
F-A-U-X.
I didn't mind that. I like Fopi. I think it's very clever,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact. I just didn't want all the
Fo-Opie.
baggage that came on after it with every single caller and
No, I get it.
ex-writer and Twitter just attacking me for the next foreseeable future.
Yeah, well, I understand.
Yeah, no, I like Opie a lot. I think
Yes, of course.
I love Opie. I love Anthony. I love all those guys.
we-
I don't have a problem with any of those cats. I've been listening to them for years, and they got me
Yes, of
it
course.
turned on to you as for that
Well,
for that matter. So
That's a terrible reason to like them, but we listen. We love Opie and Anthony. We love Opie. We love Anthony. When Mommy and Daddy got a divorce,
right,
we shared custody, and everything's been fine. So
right. Yeah.
the one thing I really liked about both of them when that happened was neither one of them demanded that any of us take sides, or at least they didn't demand that I take a side. So.
And I think that's great. I think that was a great way that they went. And again, I didn't go either way either. I enjoyed both of them immensely. So I don't have an issue with either.
I owe both of them a lot, and Opie greenlit my show, and I think part of it was he figured it was going to be a shit show, and if it was, they could make fun of it. Well, true, or it would be
Figuratively.
somewhat successful, and then they could take credit for having the foresight to approve it. So.
Right.
So but then Anthony was there at the first show. I mean, Saturday Night Virus. I
Oh,
walk
that's right,
into
yeah.
the big studio, and
remember that.
Anthony
That's-
and Melinda are sitting there.
Wow.
And I'm like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going to watch you do your show." And it's like I was sitting in his chair, doing my show from his chair with him
Wow.
sitting there. But when we did, Tacey, you might remember this, when we did the very first How to Do Your Own Self-Testicular Exam that night, it was October 12th, 2005 or 2007, I heard Anthony going, ew, and then laughing and stuff like that, and I knew that we were going to be okay.
Yeah.
He came up to us afterward and said that was the best first show I've ever heard, but the problem is we never got any better. So he'd say he'd heard a lot of first shows,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
was by far the best first show he'd ever heard.
It's hard to outdo yourself when you
we never
so
did any better. That
yeah.
was as good as we could ever do. So, oh well. All right, very good. Well, we have some topics to do, I think. Tacey, correct?
Why, yes.
Cool.
It's Tacey's time of topics. A time for Tacey to discuss topics of the day. Not to be confused with Topic Time with Harrison Young, which is copyrighted by Harrison Young and Area 58 Public Access. And now, here's Tacey.
Well, hello.
Hello.
The first topic I have is from psychiatrist.com and the use of semaglutide in alcohol disorder treatment.
What?
Yes.
Okay, because I have a question about semaglutide myself. Go ahead.
Okay, so another potential use for semaglutide, mitigating the negative symptoms of alcohol use disorder. The study presented a case series of 6 patients whose conditions improved after receiving semaglutide.
Wow.
Alcohol use disorder is a significant global health issue. It contributes to more than 3 million preventable deaths yearly. However, FDA-approved medications for its treatment are still few and far between. Semaglutide belongs to a class of drugs called glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor agonists, or GLP-1s.
Right.
Which have shown some success in preclinical studies for reducing alcohol consumption.
Is that related to abuse at all? Is that one of the
No.
same class of drugs or not?
It's not. Antabuse, different thing altogether. Antabuse prevents an enzyme from converting acetaldehyde any further, ethanol past acetaldehyde. So you accumulate acetaldehyde, which is an aldehyde, and it makes you feel like crap.
Really sick, yeah.
Yep. So, no, this is completely different. Do they say what the mechanism is?
No, well, I mean, they say, they prescribe between 0.25 and 0.5 of semaglutide weekly, and it led to a significant reduction in AUD symptoms for every patient. These findings are consistent with previous preclinical data that suggests the potential of GLP-1RAs in treating AUD. They didn't provide definitive evidence for using semaglutide to manage AUD, but do suggest the potential for further randomized, placebo-controlled clinical studies to establish its efficacy.
You know what this reminds me of? Viagra. They started using it for hair loss, and there was a side effect. They started using semaglutide for...
Well, no, Viagra was not a hair loss thing. You're thinking of minoxidil.
Minoxidil.
Was a blood pressure medicine,
Yeah.
as was sildenafil supposed to be.
Right.
But minoxidil, this sort of other effect was to improve hair growth.
No, I was talking about giving you erections.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So there was a
Well, you
side
said
effect.
hair loss, so
Well,
I got confused. So
I'm sorry.
yeah, okay, correct. It was originally evaluated as a blood pressure medication.
Okay, gotcha.
And then
gotcha.
all the
I'm sorry. Yeah.
those guys in that trial came back saying, "Well, I don't
With
know what
Woody's,
it did with my blood pressure, but
Yeah.
my partner certainly is happy or whatever."
Yeah. Well, the reason I said it, I looked that up when she started reading about it, and it said one of the ways they found it out was just an incidental finding. People that started losing weight stopped having a craving for alcohol.
Well, that's interesting.
Which is kind of cool. Yeah.
That's a lot. So, on that study that you're looking at, if that was a secondary effect, they could not sell the drug based on that. They would have to do another study with that as the primary outcome. So that sounds like that's what they've started doing. So that's pretty interesting. I would love to know what the mechanism
It's crazy,
is.
isn't it?
The crazy thing is that the body, will reuse receptors. It's like why reinvent a different receptor for every single little thing. It's just like in ham radio, we have these things called Anderson power poles, and it's what you can hook, red to red and black to black, and then you can hook all of your DC powered stuff together using these power poles. And I may have a power pole for a transceiver and another one for a battery and all this stuff, and they're all the same receptor, but I'm using them for different purposes.
Gotcha.
The body will do that too.
Yeah.
So it will use multiple receptors for multiple things.
Back in
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say back in the day when I was just starting off my clinical research career, because that's where I kind of work that's my side gig.
Yeah.
And the company that I work for, they actually sponsored clinical trials, and they let the employees kind of participate in them first because we work there, and they were like, yeah, if you guys want to, if you meet all
you're
the
a
inclusion
ready
exclusion.
cohort, right.
I did an antabuse study for them. Not that I needed it. I probably did need it, but I was doing it.
Was this when you were still drinking?
Oh, yeah.
Because you've been sober for how long now?
Over 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Way to go, man.
Yeah.
Good job.
And you were a problem when you were
Oh,
drinking.
boy, was I
right?
ever. Yeah. I was. I used to. I called into your show a couple times way back in the day, hammered.
Oh, is that right?
I did. Yeah. I think I've talked to you about this before. I asked about a couple questions about retrograde ejaculation. I think was one of them.
Okay.
Another one was I can't remember what.
Did you call in live or did you pre-record? Because we had a guy call in drunk live one time, which was the reason why we stopped taking.
Oh,
That's
yeah. I
one
don't
of
think
the-
that's.
one of
I don't
the-
think I was.
Yeah, no, we
I
had
was
Flash.
close.
We had Flash Brown on hold to talk to us about how male porn stars are able to have intercourse for prolonged periods of time and all that
Gotcha.
stuff. By the way, his answer was change positions frequently. That was one of them anyway. And also Cetaphil makes good fake ejaculate. So he told us that sort of behind the scenes thing. But we had just taken a phone call and this guy was inebriated and started dropping N-bombs. And it was like, okay, we're just going to voicemail.
See ya.
So,
Well, I just don't have a producer. If we had a producer, somebody out there screening phone calls
Right.
and, knocking people off the air, and hitting the dump button, all that kind of stuff, it'd be one
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
I do remember questions about retrograde ejaculation and
That was, and I called in
long
about
time
plantar
ago.
fasciitis. Also,
Yeah,
that's when I
yeah.
started running. I
on.
I was running, and I got a bugger of a case of plantar fasciitis. I didn't know what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
and I called you, and we weren't familiar yet. We weren't friends yet, and so I was like, yeah, I'm running every single day. I got plantar fasciitis.
And we probably told you to quit running every day.
You did. That was
it's an overuse syndrome. It's easy.
that was
Stop
it.
doing
Yeah.
it.
Just don't run.
Yeah. Docs, when I hurt this, will quit doing that. Dad, burn you.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
And you would I even remember you had even mentioned heel cups. I think was
Yeah,
the,
Thule heel cups.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Scott likes the Chacos.
Choco shoes, yeah.
yeah. And it eventually worked itself out and went away. And
Yeah, I had it too.
I think we've all had a little touch of it.
Stretching,
at some point,
you know,
Yeah.
those they make a sock that's got Velcro at the tip, and what you do is you put the sock on, and then you take the tip and you bend the tip of your foot, you know, toward your shin, and then slap it there with that Velcro, and that stretches it out. It's a decent stretching technique.
Yeah, it's a weird indication though. I've never
Yeah.
experienced anything like that in my life.
Yeah, it
You know?
sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
sucks bad.
But anyway, Taste, back
Yes.
to your
Number two.
semaglutide.
Oh, okay.
Or did you have something more to say about that?
No, that's all I had to say.
Somebody
you
in
said
the,
you had a semaglutide question.
Well, I did. Somebody in the Fluid family, which, by the way, if you want to join us, usually it's Saturday afternoon, sometimes Wednesday evening. Just follow my Twitter @WeirdMedicine or go to youtube.com/@WeirdMedicine and click notification. Then when we go live, you'll get a notification. But anyway, one of the people in the Fluid family, a.k.a. the chat room, said, semaglutide, that, you know, expensive placebo. And, and so I started taking semaglutide today. This is my first day. I got sick of not being able to get this last 20 pounds off, and I have zero willpower. You know, I eat an apple every morning, and then I skip lunch, and then I eat everything and anything at night. And my body thinks it's in starvation mode. I know I'm not doing it right. And every week, you know, I'm creeping up a little bit. I hover between 177 and 182, but it's more on the higher side now than it was. And I've been up as high as 200, and I don't want to get there again. So I just said, what the hell, I'll try it. So I got semaglutide today. And when this, whoever it was in there, it wasn't King of All Diffs, I'm not sure who it was, but that said that it was a placebo, I decided to do some research on it. And I found this study from New England Journal of Medicine, not a, you know, crap journal. Once a week semaglutide in adults with overweight or obesity. Now, I don't have obesity, but I do have overweight. And mean change in body weight from baseline to week 68 was 15%. The semaglutide group is compared with 2.4% in the placebo group. Nausea and diarrhea, most common adverse effects. They were typically transient, mild to moderate, subdued with time. And so a change in body weight from baseline to week 68 was minus 15 kilograms, which is, multiply that times 2.2, that's about 30 pounds. 33 pounds in the semaglutide group as compared with minus 2.6 kilograms in the placebo group. So I think it's a little better than placebo. This was statistically significant difference. And so I'm going to try it for a few weeks and just see if it'll kickstart me.
Steve, did they talk to you about to what end? Like, you lose all the weight, then when you're not taking the medicine.
Yeah, no, I've got that. I
mean,
got to
you're
maintain
gonna-
it.
Yeah, you're going to. I mean, I've been on and off these and lost 30 pounds, gained 40 back several times. So,
Right.
I mean, I've got some in the refrigerator that I'm going to start taking. But I do wonder to what end. I mean, am I going to be on it forever? And if so,
Right.
you know, can I afford that? It's very expensive.
What I'm hoping to do with this is I just need to forge some new habits. Mm-hmm. And this is going to kind of force me into not, you know, doing the 10:30 at night. Let's do a whole cup of
binge eating.
Yeah, let's do a whole cup of popcorn with, you know, I've got this new butter spray that you can
It's
spray
yummy.
on it, and it's oh my god, is it
It's just chemicals, yummy chemicals.
That was the wrong one, but that's the one I was going.
There we
for.
go.
But yeah, I do it with coconut oil. That's butter flavored coconut oil that I bought.
Stop.
Oh my god!
I've been driving for 5 hours.
And then you use Flava. There's this
Exactly.
powder called Flavacol that you put in there too. And yeah, so you heat it up with a couple of kernels in there, enough to cover the bottom. And then when those things pop, I turn the heat down to 5 and then dump your popcorn in there. And then have the lid so that it lets steam escape. And when it gets to the point where the next one popping won't kick the kernels out, take the lid completely off. And then you spray it with this damn butter flavor. Oh my God! Anyway.
Oh my God!
So good.
Yeah. And I found that it doesn't cause reflux for me.
That's good.
So I don't have any reflux with it. So I've been eating that, but it's got to be, I don't know how many calories right before I go to bed. It's insane.
I wonder
So
if
I'm hoping this will stop that.
semaglutide will have any effect on your reflux.
Yes, it already is.
Is it?
I'm having horrible reflux right now, but they also said just use some Pepsid. So that's what I'm going to do.
Well, just pay attention to when
Famotidine.
you're full and
Correct.
just don't move past that because you will get sick.
Right.
And that's not a good feeling.
There you go. But anyway, I think it is more than a placebo. So at least the data seems to point in that direction. Is it stupid for me to do it? Yes, probably.
Yes.
Probably. Fuck off, Dr. Scott. Here, hey, Dr. Scott.
Get your hand off my penis!
I forgot about that one. Oh my God!
All right.
Okay. Our second topic is pink noise versus white noise, your guide to a good night's sleep.
Okay.
I'm in.
Okay,
me
so pink, brown, and white noise,
is
definitions
so
and
scared
examples.
of pink noise.
Okay, so pink noise, examples of it would be rustling leaves, steady rain, ocean waves, and heartbeats.
Okay.
It leans more toward environmental noise, so it's no surprise most people prefer it. Have you seen that commercial on television talking about the different types
Yes.
of noises?
Yeah.
And I do like the pink noise the best. So.
You do?
Yes.
Interesting. So a lot of them will say, oh, no, green noise is the best, or violet noise. So these are all just different filters of noise. Can you bring up filters on that thing?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I wish I'd
think so.
had a...
I got a high pass, low pass. all
You
that.
do?
Yeah.
Can you do noise? Can you do like a...
Yeah, I got to find it. I don't know where it is.
We don't
Okay.
need any more help putting people to sleep. I don't think.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to demonstrate. Maybe we could do that another time, but I could demonstrate these different noises using a synthesizer with a high pass and a low pass filter.
So was that? And I'm sorry. Was that for people say they sleep better with white noise, and some people sleep better with pink
Yeah,
noise?
it's kind of just different examples of what each noise is in this article.
Is it,
go ahead.
Is
Go
it
ahead.
frequency
Yes.
between each noise?
Yes,
that's what I was thinking.
Yes,
Yeah.
it says here, which I didn't get into because
So
I wasn't realizing who was in the room. But with pink noise, lower frequencies are louder while higher frequencies are more diminished.
correct, and it's linear. If you look at the frequency spectrum, it goes from high on the left, where the lower frequencies are, to lower on the bottom. And I can play a little pink noise for you. Just
So it's a
you can-
very soothing sound.
That's pink noise.
Gotcha.
Okay. So
Now
let's,
that does sound like rain. It sounds a bit like the ocean as well. Go ahead, Tace. Did you have
so
other
let's talk
noises?
about white noise.
Okay.
So white noise is equally spread across the sound spectrum, and it
Correct.
represents all audible frequencies at the same intensity.
And it's random.
Yes.
So it's completely random. So white noise is the progenitor of all the noises, because if you have a true random generator and you pass the numbers to sound frequencies and space them correctly, you'll get this. And it's just...
Yeah. These frequencies are relaxing because they block out distracting and unwanted
Sure.
sounds.
See, that's not white noise. Let me see. These people say they have white noise, but it's not really white
Well,
noise.
examples would be like a fan, which we sleep to.
Correct.
Because,
You sleep too.
I get hot at night. Radio or television static, a vacuum, or a humming air conditioner.
Now, that's a box fan. But you can also hear that there are tones in there that are created by the blades and the spacing between the screen. But anyway.
What
yeah.
about binaural beats? Is that the
Yeah, well, we
same?
can do some... No, it's not the same.
It's
So binaural beats...
it's frequency, but it's one in one ear, one in the other.
Yes,
two
and they
different
will, and they,
frequencies,
right,
right?
and they're close enough that they will beat against each other. Let me get you a binaural beat here. Let's see here. Here, this is a binaural beat. That's really hard. But you hear that wee, 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 wee. Those two notes are so close together that they actually create a beat frequency difference. And all tones do that, but when you get them close, you get the up and down is actually not in the audio frequency. I mean, it doesn't create a third tone like it does if you play two notes that are far apart.
Gotcha.
And so you get this sort of undulating as the waveform cancels out and then reinforces itself. Go ahead, Taste.
Okay, so the next noise is brown noise, which is deeper and stronger at the low end of the sound spectrum. Unlike
Right.
pink and white noise, it doesn't contain any high-frequency sounds. Examples of that would be like a low roaring, strong waterfalls, and thunder.
Here's brown noise. Now, what happens with brown noise is it's similar to pink noise, but it's, I believe, and I didn't know I would have looked this up, but brown noise is more exponential decrease from the high to the low, whereas pink noise is linear.
Okay.
Do you know-
So,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to, when you said brown noise, it made me think, have you ever heard of the brown note before?
No.
You don't know
What's
what the
that?
brown note is?
No, what's the brown note?
The brown note is, and I've heard about this for a long time, and I don't even know if it's real or
All
not. I
right,
don't even
well,
know if
stop equivocating. What is it?
I talk a lot, sorry. It's a note that makes you shit yourself when you hear it.
Get the hell out of here.
Basically is
Okay, so that would be something that like the CIA would use.
I guess.
Like in a
It'd be
battlefield.
handy, I guess.
Okay, the brown note, called the brown frequency or brown noise, is a hypothetical infrasonic frequency capable of causing fecal incontinence by creating acoustic resonance in the human bowel. Oh, that's awesome. I wish that were true.
Hey, can I tell you a story I read about that about the brown note about a gentleman that got in trouble with the FBI.
Mythbusters did this, by the way,
Yeah.
and busted the myth.
Well,
But go ahead.
this is a true story, best I can tell. But there was a dude who got in trouble with the after the January 6th thing, and FBI came to pick him up. When they banged on his door and busted through, he shit his pants.
Oh.
And they actually took him to the bathroom and said, "Wash up, put
then-
on some new pants,
and then we're on our way."
locking your ass up."
Yeah.
They actually made him bathe.
Wow.
So there's your brown note.
There's the brown. Yeah, it's,
So we know what does exist.
I think that would.
I would have shit my pants too if the FBI came after me.
FBI agents singing at my front door with
Exactly.
the brown note.
Yeah, that's a brown note.
So some of the benefits, including with these noises like white noise, masked sounds, so that obviously helps you sleep. Brown noise promotes concentration. So like if you need to focus and you're trying to get something done,
I believe it.
you know, it can drown out any distractions. It can also help ease anxiety, especially in a high stress situation. Pink noise is used to reduce brain waves.
Did
So-
they talk about green noise in there? That's one that's
Yeah, there is
the middle is
they do
peaked
talk
on green
about
noise.
green noise, and they say it mimics the soothing sounds of nature, like a forest or babbling brook. Its lower frequencies are calming and grounding, perfect for relaxation, stress reduction, and meditation, offering a natural escape from urban noise.
Yeah, that's green noise.
I just don't know if somebody said this is green noise and this is white noise.
No, I know.
I'm not going to know the difference.
No.
I'm with you on that. We used to use pink noise to tune rooms when I was an audio engineer, and because you could see, all the different frequencies had different amplitudes, and so you would tune it to that curve. But I think this is very similar to aromatherapy. Yeah, sure, lavender smells good, and it's supposed to be something that causes soothing stuff. But I think that's cultural, and it's cultural within your family. If you were
Sure.
ritually abused by your grandmother who had lavender plants all over the place, the last thing lavender is going to be is soothing
That's
to
right.
you.
That's
Right.
right.
And so I think it's the same thing with this noise business. Now, my thing, Tace, and I don't know if they say anything about that in there, but as humans, when we evolved as a species, we had to find places where there was running water
Okay.
or water.
Sure.
And so there would be streams for fresh water and the ocean for salt water. But when you would hear that, I think that would be reassuring, that was life-affirming, and et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's where some of that comes from, because, when I love
Very true,
hearing the sound. Who doesn't love hearing the sound of the ocean?
I don't know. That's so true.
That's just encoded into your.
I think
Yes, I think it is.
I think Steve may be onto something.
You might be. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff encoded in us that we don't even realize.
Of course.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, just like adolescence. We talk about that, why adolescents are not kind to their parents. There's the ocean.
I'd like to hear that in real life, Steve.
Yeah, that makes three of us or four of us. We might have to take the show on the road. We'll go back. We'll go back with John.
There we
today.
go.
But I think where were we? What was I talking about? See, I got distracted by the ocean sounds.
It works.
We're talking about encoding into the
Oh, yeah,
babies.
adolescents.
And
Yeah, so
fighting their parents.
if you want your species to be successful, you're going to want to broaden your gene pool. And you can't broaden your gene pool if you're having intercourse inside your own cave when you're a cave person and having children in there. So the kids back then who were 12 or 13 or 14, because that's what age people were mating back then, would go, oh, you guys aren't cool, I'm going to the cave next door where everybody's cool.
I'm going to Dr. Steve's cave. Yeah. He's got all the cool stuff over there.
Then those people who then bred and broadened the gene pool actually had a slight increased chance of passing that gene on to us after 100,000 generations or whatever. And so obviously not every adolescent is that way. Some get along just fine with their parents, but some of them, go crazy. And we try to make them be celibate, and we try to keep them living in the house until they're 20 whatever and all this stuff, and we force them to be monogamous, or try society tries to force that, and it's against our programming, and they will rebel against it. It also shows why when those kids rebel, a lot of times they'll come back once they have kids or whatever, because that would have been where they would have gotten the most support, would be from their original group of cave people. So that's my hypothesis anyway.
Makes good sense.
Can I ask a question about cavemen?
Sure.
Sure.
Well, I've always been
Your
kind of,
modern technology frightens me.
I was how we dream, and we always dream about being late. We always dream about school because we've been in school for years. And
I dream that I forgot to round on a patient.
That too, all these reoccurring dreams. I'm like, did cavemen dream about being late anywhere? Because they never had to be anywhere.
That is interesting, isn't it? Maybe that's why we dream about being late to stuff.
Yeah, well,
that it's alien to our makeup, because when we were cave people.
They dreamt about saber-toothed tigers and shit like that.
Yeah, saber-toothed tiger
snakes
coming in.
and snakes, and you would think.
Where am I going to get
Scorpions,
my next club from to beat somebody over the head with?
Yeah, or your wife being mad at you because you came home without without water today, and she's pissed.
Yeah.
Dreaming of your wife.
That's interesting.
Bring her home.
Or you missed the hunt.
You got to. You had a shot at a deer and you missed.
Then
that would be.
Or they left without you.
You got to get her a woolly mammoth coat to make up for it,
Which, by the way, we may be able to do again. They're cloning fucking woolly mammoths.
I know it.
We may have woolly mammoths again. I don't know that's the greatest idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Something's gone, kind of. We don't need Bruce Willis for the next 200 years. We don't need to.
12 monkeys.
Yeah, well, they digitized him, and so now they're going to use him forever because he can't. He's got aphasia.
Yeah.
So I just don't know why 200 years from now we need Bruce Willis still walking
we need
around.
Everybody. Well, let's do
movies.
him first, and then we'll do everybody.
I like him, but everybody's got a shelf life. Woolly mammoths have a shelf life.
Well, okay, I see where you were getting. Yeah. All right, fair. I'll give you a bell for that.
Myself a bell.
Come on, man.
Give him a bell.
That's a cheap bell.
Hey, Scott's got something to say.
Yeah.
Long feather. Johnny Longfeather joining the show.
Yeah.
Johnny Longfeather joining the show.
Okay.
So thank you, Johnny.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Well, you told me to say it.
No. I just want to. Okay, I'm sorry.
He chews me. He chews me out every day, every Saturday.
No.
Scott,
During
for
the
something.
podcast part.
Oh, hellfire. Well, forget
That's
you,
okay.
Johnny.
Johnny Longfellow.
Yeah, sorry, Johnny.
Sorry, Johnny.
Johnny Longfeather. That's a super chat. $1.99 saying love the show. Thank you, sir. Yeah, we.
I have one more thing to say about
Yes.
noises.
Yes, of course.
Which I thought was interesting, that pink and brown
Thank
noise
you,
can
Scott.
help tinnitus.
Oh,
Oh, well, that makes
well,
sense.
that's
Sure.
nice.
So people with who are hearing static in their ears, this can mask that if it's driving you crazy.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So.
Terrible,
Yep.
terrible.
All right. Very good.
Very good taste.
Yep.
Thank you, Tace.
You're welcome.
I was supposed to do a thing for E-Rock's show on medical use of noise, and I've got slides on all these things with the spectrum analysis and all that junk on there.
Have you ever seen when they take a frequency and they put it under one of those plates that they have the
Oh, like sand and stuff on. Yeah,
and it makes
big standing waves.
and each frequency makes a different
Yep. Yep.
design. What's going on with that? There's
So,
something up with that.
No, so what that is those are standing waves. So if you have a guitar, for example, and you pluck the string, that will have all these different modes, right? And the first mode is the whole string is waving back and forth. Now you can go halfway, and then you'll have two wavelengths, right, on the same string. So you'll see an up and a down part of the sine wave everywhere. And if you cause it to resonate, those things will always be there. This part of the string will always look up to you, and this part of the string will always look down, like it use a strobe light or something.
Right.
Now, you can create standing waves in something. If you vibrate it at the right frequency, then you will see troughs and peaks appear in the string that are proportionate to the frequencies that you're, feeding the string with.
Right.
Okay. And when you if you change the size of that plate, the resonant frequencies for that plate will be different. So the standing waves will change. So there's nothing inherent in the sound that makes it look like that when you put a transducer on a plate full of sand.
Right.
It's the sound wave and how it's bouncing off the edges of the plate.
Okay.
And then back again, and then creating those standing waves. So the high points are just where the waves, the input waves are reinforcing each other, and the low
Right.
parts are where they're canceling each other out. The total energy stays the same,
Right.
but it's dependent on the size of the plate and the frequency of
So if you
and
had,
the weight of the sand too.
you got two plates. One's a little bit bigger than the other. They
Right.
both have the same frequency going through them. They
Right.
both have sand.
The
One's
standing
bigger
wave should be
is going to
different.
have a different design.
should
It's
have
not the frequency.
Right.
that changes?
It is frequency dependent, but it's also dependent on the
Surface area.
The area.
vessel
Yeah.
of the thing.
Sure. Yeah.
The length of the string, if it's two-dimensional, or the size of the pan if it's three-dimensional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know I've been watching a lot of stuff about Tesla and 369 frequency and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And It's been really interesting lately. And one of the things that they were saying, the designs that these things make, you can see them in like churches, windows, like in some really old churches.
Sure.
The designs of these frequencies are in the they,
Correct.
They
Okay.
recreate, and so the
Because-
music in the church and the bells and everything it's all linked.
It's not
somehow.
really that though, but what it is when you're trying to make a pattern out of something, if you're going to making a symmetrical pattern, you will see that in nature too, because nature likes symmetry, and some of these things will look very similar. And it really is because the math is the same. If you're bisecting a square
Right.
with a compass using a circular compass, and scribing out semicircles or arcs on there, if you do it with the right length, you're going to recreate something that looks like standing waves
Sure.
in a pond or something.
Just
like
having them know that so far back makes me think that they knew something was going on.
Well,
with
maybe. I
sound
don't know.
and
Yeah, well, sure.
I don't know. I mean, I have no clue. It's just really cool to.
It's
find stuff
fascinating to
out.
me, like the golden mean. 1.608 to 1 makes Greek architecture look really pleasing, but that same ratio is involved in how sunflower seeds are made.
Is that phi?
Phi, yes. I think that,
The golden ratio.
The golden ratio.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And so there's all chambered nautilus chambers are in that same ratio as
Right.
well. It just is a ratio that works when you're dividing something in half by itself. Because that's how you get it. You take a rectangle or a square, and then you scribe out a
Right.
circle, and you make a rectangle out of that. The sides will be 1.608 to 1. And now you can infinitely subdivide that in a fractal way, and you'll get the same dimensions all the way around. And that's what you're looking for when you're in chambered nautilus. You're trying to make things all, be equal.
Right.
So that it would be dumb if they were all random, right, or just random sized chambers. So it works for it, and it just works out that it's the same ratio. It's pretty cool.
I think it's something deeper. I think there's something screaming at us going here.
Okay, like what?
I don't know. We haven't figured it. Well, I think some people have figured it out. I don't.
Like what? What? Yeah, I mean, there's 1.6, or 1.
When people do
6081 is just a couple of digits. There's not a lot of information that can be encoded in that.
transcendental meditation,
Yeah,
they use a lot of these frequencies to get them to a point where they can, go under, or however you want to put it, get to where they want to be with as far as their meditation is concerned. And I think music is really like when you go to a concert.
Yes.
I know all this is experience. Like everybody is all, when you're hearing this one frequency band, whatever one, everybody in the crowd links up. We're all linked.
Well, sure.
We're all. It's almost like
if your brain waves go with the beat, and then everybody. But the question is, so what? Yes, we all respond the same way, but does that do anything?
The universal consciousness
it brings you
is
together.
What it does. The
brings
universal consciousness. That's right.
I feel like frequencies we're almost like, I feel like we're walking wireless routers, and when you come in contact with a router that's on the same frequency or similar or whatever, and if you tend to become attracted to that when you're on the same.
He's a fucking idiot.
Let me add to that.
I don't know. I'm just bullshitting.
Hey, John, let me add to that
because you're an idiot.
Let me add to that real quick. This morning, believe it or not, on the morning news, they had a guy that wrote this book about communicating.
Yeah.
And his whole thing was that when you have two people that are engaged, like we're talking right now.
Correct.
And we're having a very good conversation. Our pupils start to dilate and to get the same size. Our eyes flick at the same rate. They actually have done EMGs or I'm sorry, EEGs. I said EMGs. EEGs on the people, and their brainwaves actually start to sync up.
Right.
Very much like two cardiac cells. Think about that. Heart cells. You take two independent heart cells, they beat independently, but when you put them close together, they start to sync up and beat together. Which is partly how the heart beats. Very interesting.
There's a binaural beat for you. All right. I knew if John came here, it'd be pot talk.
Way to go, John.
I don't. Yeah. Well, it's fun. I have to talk about cholesterol all the time.
Well, true. Fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point. All right. You guys want to answer some questions?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Number one thing, don't take advice from some asshole on the radio.
All right. Let's do this one.
Are we leaving the music on?
We aren't. I am.
Why?
No. All right. Casey says we have to turn it off.
Hope you're doing good.
Here we go.
Hey,
Question.
got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Saw it on Facebook. I know that's a wealth of information, but got to Googling and everything. Found out that my primary type 2 diabetes medicine has been recalled as of 8/21. Metformin.
This was a while back.
What is the protocol when your meds have been recalled? Is it up to the pharmacy to call you up and go, hey, by the way, you may not want to take that? Or Is it the doctors, or is just keep taking it and hope that everything works out okay?
Yeah, right.
Looking for a little guidance here. I've got about 6 months supply sitting there in the closet. So,
Okay. Well, first off, I'm not sure why you have 6 months of your prescription medicine in the closet. It tells me you're not taking it. But, there isn't a great, it's not like you're tagged and the federal government knows that you're taking metformin and somehow they're going to contact you. We don't have that sort of system. And I think John would be thankful for that because he's also a conspiracy, government surveillance nut. But, the manufacturer may notify consumers automatically before the pharmacies are notified. But that doesn't mean that they'll call you and say, stop taking that. They'll post recall information on their website. The FDA may notify patients by telephone, mail, or fax if a medication has been recalled. A lot of times I found out about mine from my physician's office called and said, hey, you came up on some bulletin we had, and so we're just letting you know, stop taking that losartan and take this other one or whatever it was. And there is a website for this, and it is, what is CPSC's Consumer Price something, cpsc.gov/recalls. Let's just look there right now. CPS.
This is like a Chevy.
Never heard of them.
Gov recalls. Yeah, let's just see here. Okay, Consumer Product Safety Commission. Okay. And so I'm looking date from, I don't know. I think you can put in your medicines in here and it will let you know. But then, again, John will freak out about that. Okay, let's see. We'll apply this to see if there's any recalls from 1/1/24. Polaris recalls Matrix snowmobiles. Uh-oh.
Oh, damn.
Uh-oh. Spring Spirit play mattresses recalled due to suffocation hazard. Okay, I don't like that one. Here's a biometric gun safe due to serious injury hazard or risk of death. What?
Wow.
The biometric lock on the gun safes can be opened by unauthorized users, posing a serious injury. Okay, so there's a bunch of gun safe stuff on here, but I don't see any drugs right now. But anyway, check that out. Consumer Product Safety Commission. You can just put in recalls, see if any of your drugs have been recalled. But yeah, have you ever gotten anybody call you about a recall? Usually you find out when you go back to refill it. They go, oh, that one that you've been taking has been recalled.
I used to work in Stability, where they stored all the drugs for like years and years and years, and that's how they figure out the expiration dates.
Sure.
Or they'll put something in a freezer for 2 years, and then th'll bring it out and they'll do their thing on it, and they can determine whether or not how
much active medicine is still left.
Yeah, and it's really interesting stuff.
Yeah. So my impression is that with the exemption of nitroglycerin, that expiration dates on most drugs is just something they just made up because they're required to have an expiration date.
Right.
They are forced to have.
No, they have they had light chambers, they had freezers, they had humidity chambers, and they had a staff of people. They would go, okay, pull these drugs today. These come off and send them to the lab and see what they would put them through. High performance liquid chromatography machines, and so they could tell whether or not the still had any efficacy in it or not. So.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Let's do this one.
Tom from Michigan.
Hey, man.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
One, have you seen the video from Jacksonville, Florida, of the gentleman with 150 fly larvae in his sinus cavities?
No.
Oh.
2, what makes poop different lengths?
Different
Why are
lengths?
some very long? Why are some very short?
Okay. Well, I can answer the second
Two
one.
different what?
Lengths.
Okay.
Lengths. He wants to know why when you defecate, sometimes you get a big, long,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
snake-looking thing, and other times you get little chunks.
Yeah.
And all so it has to do with the consistency and the amount of contraction. That's basically it. So if your bowel is contracting efficiently with good peristaltic waves, and you've got a consistency of stool that's high fiber, usually
and
that will hold it together.
Hydrated.
Yep, and lots of water.
Yep.
Then you'll get a long stinker, and then if not, then you'll just get whatever the bowel will allow you to evacuate at the time. I wish that we had a little bit more control over that. It'd be nice to say, well, I need to take a dump right now because I'm going to be sitting in a tree stand for the next half a day.
Or driving a car for the next 5 hours.
Or 6. Or 6 like John did. And I don't want to shit in not a truck stop, but a rest stop.
Right on.
And
with 100 other people.
It would be nice if you could do that. We just don't seem to have that sort of control. You can sort of force yourself into a habit.
Yes.
But it's really difficult to just control that. That's pretty involuntary. So, but if we could, we might be able to extrude more formed stools than right now you're just taking a chance at it. It's just whatever your bowel throws at you.
Random extrusions.
Yep, exactly right. All right. Well, okay. Well, John, thank you for being here.
Well, I thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We're going to do more over on the podcast side. Thanks to everyone at SiriusXM. And until next time, check your stupid nuts for lumps, quit smoking, get off your asses, get some exercise. We'll see you in 1 week for the next edition of Weird Medicine. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
I was struggling with that one. All right. So now let's answer the second part of his question.
I didn't even hear what was the first part?
Oh, about bot flies.
And I've got a fluid family question.
Yeah,
we
have some other questions we got to do too.
My gal might be on there right now.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Maybe.
So,
Shelly.
Here, hang on. Okay.
Does she go by?
Okay. You got,
Snarky.
okay. I'm starting the recording, so you guys got to shut the fuck up.
Sorry.
Please. So, with regard to the first part of his question, fly infestation is, fly larvae are maggots, and that's called myiasis. So, if you want to really gross yourself out, Google oral or penile myiasis. But this person had sinus myiasis. You can get bot flies can burrow under the skin, and then you get the larva under the skin. And but sometimes you can just get it if you've sleeping outside and your mouth is open and fly gets in, lays some eggs, and next thing you know, you have larvae, particularly if you have poor hygiene to that part of the body. So we see people come in with these chronic skin wounds that are colonized with fly larvae, but they do clean. They clean up the area very nicely. The problem is just getting rid of them after they're done. So, check out myiasis, MYIASIS, or don't. Matter of fact, don't Google image that. I'm telling you not to do it.
At work, right?
And they do it, at
They're going to do it anyway.
You're driving around.
Speaking of that, I was on our first installment of Ask Dr. Steve on Normal World hit, and it was fun. I talked about the worst way to die, which was, spoiler alert, Fournier gangrene. Do not Google image that. And I was very specific. Please don't Google image that. In my piece that I did for them, of course, they all did, and they were all horrified. And it derailed the show for like 3 minutes. And if I had known it was going to have that kind of effect, I wouldn't have done deviated septum as my follow-up.
Exactly.
So I hate that. But Vapor Lock is next week. So. All right. Let's... You had a fluid family
I did have
question.
a fluid family question. It's a great question for Mick. Mick said, I had a whole bunch of symptoms, went for a CT scan of the abdomen. They found a hiatal hernia. Any thoughts on long-term management of a hiatal hernia?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. You want to start?
I can start with the number one.
Don't take semaglutide. I'll tell you that right now. If I
don't
make it through the show without barfing, I'm going to
don't do that. I'll take the more Eastern approach to this. Don't forget, your stomach has two mechanisms of action to protect itself. One's motility, which means it moves, and the second's acid production.
Correct.
If a lot of times this hiatal hernias are caused from an increase in acid production. So what you can do is
the symptoms are.
Well, the symptoms, yeah, absolutely. But that's
the hernia itself is a mechanical problem.
But the mechanical problem comes a lot of times from an increase of acid,
maybe so.
Allegedly, and then it can turn into things. But anyway, eat warm foods, drink warm drinks, and work on not having things that are going to be sitting in your stomach, especially at nighttime, that are going to cause exacerbations of that.
Carbohydrates, the worst.
Getting up in your
worst offender,
working back up into your esophagus and burning it up. Because then you don't want to wind up with a Barrett's esophagus.
Right.
So warm foods, warm drinks, good healthy bowel movements, like we talked about that last question.
Yeah, and the reason for the warm drinks, you gave a really good reason for that, is that if you drink cold stuff, it's gonna slow the muscle
peristalsis
down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Warm things, and then I recommend people, if they're having mechanical reflux at night, to avoid carbohydrates and alcohol, particularly within 4 to 6 hours of bedtime. And because they seem to make a huge difference. And when I've put people on low-carb diets, they come back saying, yeah, my blood sugars are under control, but it's also my reflux is gone.
Right. Yes, of course. Yeah. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. So
a lot of that
bread,
abdominal pain
pasta,
at night,
potatoes, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you can certainly do it. I mean, a fundoplication isn't something you want to have unless you absolutely
That's
have
correct.
it. Yeah.
So what that is where they actually go in and they tack down tissue outside the esophageal sphincter so that it creates a tighter barrier for things coming back from the stomach up into the esophagus. And it is a last resort. And we had our gastroenterologist say they only last about 10 years, but then the surgeon said that wasn't true. So who knows? It just depends on who does it, I guess.
Just eat warm foods and drink warm drinks. And
Yeah.
And remember, it doesn't have to be hot, just not ice cold, and especially not just before bed.
Right. Yeah. The a hernia just means it's something blooping through a hole in the body that's not supposed to.
Yeah.
So when you get bowel contents blooping through the inguinal canal into your testicles, that's called a hiatal hernia.
No, inguinal hernia.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Inguinal.
Ugh, I'm an idiot, yes.
He's a fucking idiot.
So, yes, that's called an inguinal hernia.
Is that
because it's in the
turn your head and cough one?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, and there's direct and indirect, doesn't matter. And there are other hernias in the body. Well, a hiatal hernia is so the esophagus has to go from the between the mouth and the stomach, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and it has to pass through the diaphragm to get to the stomach. So that means there has to be a hole in the diaphragm for the esophagus to empty out into a structure that's below the diaphragm. And that hole is called the hiatus. And when the stomach, parts of the stomach start blooping up through the hiatus where they're not supposed to, then we call that a hiatal hernia, and that's what that is. And that's where the mechanical problem is. I was trying to catch you yawning over there, Taze, on camera. And then and that will cause a decrease in the effectiveness of the lower esophageal sphincter, which is the valve that's just a ring of muscle that's supposed to keep stomach contents in the stomach and esophageal contents going from esophagus to stomach easily.
One way only.
Yeah, one way only. It doesn't work very well. It's a pretty piss-poor valve, if I may say so myself. So that'll be one of my questions when I'm sitting in front of my creator. Why the lower esophageal sphincter? So, but anyway, and so there are medications that can tighten the lower esophageal sphincter. One of those being metoclopramide. The problem with it is if you take it over a long period of time, it can cause adverse effects like tardive dyskinesia and things like that, which is a motion disorder. So we try not to prescribe that, just on and on and on. And then the rest of it is just if you're having mechanical reflux at night, deal with it mechanically. You know, put bricks under the head of your bed so that your stomach contents are staying in the stomach, and drink a floating antacid before bed, like Gaviscon. It tastes like rotten fish, but it will float, and so that
Suppresses
the
a lot of it.
antacid part is the part that's coming into contact with the lower esophageal sphincter instead of stomach acid, stuff like
And
that.
sometimes a little warmth on your tummy too. Is a little,
Yeah,
little-
right. Like Dr. Scott
can
said, I
help.
think
Yeah, just on like a hot patch or a
Yep.
Is there
or a
any
thing.
is there anything to the where if you sleep on one side or the other, you have a less chance of getting more acid
Yes,
reflux?
yes, because your stomach, if you take your left hand and have it palm up and thumb up and palm toward your body, and then put it right at the middle of your breastbone, you know, where you feel that xiphoid process down
Right.
there. That's kind of what your stomach looks like. So you can imagine if most of the stomach is to the right, that laying on your right side will be less likely to cause reflux because you've got more space, more volume on the right side of your body than you do on the left, where your stomach is concerned. So lying on, now I can't do that because I'm facing Tacy.
Because you're left-handed. I'm just kidding. Hey, we
Yeah,
have
she
one
doesn't
more.
want to see me when I'm,
We have one more question.
Yeah.
And then and it's from Joe. You can see he's got the blue.
Joe Oliveira.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a super chat, $2 super chat. Thank you, Joe. Had my gallbladder removed. What should I avoid?
Having your gallbladder removed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, some people have post-cholecystectomy syndrome and some don't. GVAC did. He
Yes,
had his
he did.
gallbladder removed, and then he had bloating and diarrhea and all this kind of stuff. And really, all we did was we put him on a resin called cholestyramine.
Polystyrene, right?
And it was a bile sequestering resin, and it took care of his symptoms. So you're not supposed to have to avoid anything but avoiding huge fatty meals because you no longer have a gallbladder to squirt bile into your bowel. It's just dribbling in a little bit at a time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest too.
That's
know.
the big
To
one.
avoid a lot of fat. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a relative that had their gallbladder removed, and I don't know what I'm not a doctor. I don't know what the little things in there are called, the little pebbles,
What
whatever.
are you talking? Oh, yeah.
The gallstones. Yeah.
Gallstone. Well, yeah. So the duct.
The common bile duct. Yeah, there's a bile duct. Yeah.
One of those gallstones got stuck in there,
Right.
and they had to rebuild the whole
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
happens.
the whole duct.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, they can go in, and they've got a scope, and they can go in, and they've got a little, like a microtome that can go in and cut a slit in there, and then they'll dig out all the stones, and if depending on their skill and the technology they have, they might be able to sew it back together, or sometimes they just leave it open so it won't get
stent
jammed
it,
up
yeah.
again.
They did it robotically.
But
My
it's temporary.
my
That's
family-
cool. The robot is the coolest thing. in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Johnny Longfeller, $1.99. Thanks for the super chat, my friend. He says, love the show. And then we had Not Cupcakes became a member of the Fluid family. It's only 99 cents. And turn on, if you're in the Fluid family, go up to your settings on this website and turn on gifted memberships. And that way, if someone, like last time, vaping so-and-so gave everybody, like 50 people a membership. So it was relatively
like
inexpensive. Yeah, it was like
All right,
Hanukkah
let's-
or Kwanzaa or whatever. So
That's it.
all right, well,
Wrap
thank
it
you
up,
all.
baby.
Thank you all, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks go to Dr. Scott and Tacy and Logan Field. Thanks for being here, man.
I appreciate it. Thank
And,
you for having me.
We'll be doing some music after the show. Many thanks to our listeners whose voicemail and topic ideas make this job very easy. Go to our website at drsteve.com for schedules, podcasts, and other crap. Until next time, check your stupid nuts for lumps. Quit smoking, get off your asses, get some exercise. We'll see you in 1 week for the next edition of Weird Medicine. Thanks.
Goodbye,
everybody.
everyone.